What is up, guys? Private Eye Russ here, and welcome to another episode of the Private Eye Russ podcast. I'm your host, owner, operator, full-service private investigation and consulting firm, corporate theft investigations, criminal defense investigations, litigation support investigations, premarital background checks. If you want to know what this person was up to before you met them, I can give you the answers you deserve. Personal one-on-one personal development coaching sessions, either live or virtually. I can help you reach the goals you want, change the things in your life that need to be changed, and put you on the path to success, whether it be in relationships, business-wise, health, fitness. I can take care of you. Reach out to me for all those services at russ@privateeyeruss.com. That's russ at privateeyeruss.com. Or you can reach me by sending a direct message to me on X at Private Eye Russ. All right, so let's get into this one. This one is a story time. This is not a private eye story. This is a this is a fun story. Hopefully you guys like this one. Some of you who know me know that I'm a motorcyclist. Throughout my life, I've owned, I think, 7 motorcycles. I'm without one right now. I'm actually looking at different bikes right now. But my first bike, believe it or not, was a little VTR 250 Interceptor, I guess. 250cc. I think it barely get out of its own way compared to some of the other bikes I've had. And me at 6'1", 245, 250 at the time. I think at the time I was like 255. And I had really low body fat. And so I probably looked like a circus clown or circus bear on a tricycle. I was so big for that bike. But with this one in particular, we're going to call this story Wild Weasel. Okay, so Wild Weasel. What is Wild Weasel? Wild Weasel, let me make sure I get the term correct. Wild Weasel. Wild Weasel. Okay, all right, so... and this was the best comparison to, modern day terms. Although this is not really modern day. Okay, so Wild Weasel is a U.S. Air Force code name for any aircraft equipped with anti-radiation missiles and tasked with suppressing enemy air defenses. Their mission is to destroy enemy radar and surface-to-air missiles installations. Wild Weasels bait enemy defenses into targeting them, then trace the radar waves back to their source for destruction. This was a Vietnam War era, terminology. The United States military, they must really, literally have either a private company or a department of specially trained people that come up with these different terms. But so Wild Weasel, that was me. So how did I do the Wild Weasel thing? It wasn't wartime. It was right here in the streets of Florida. So I knew some people. I had some friends that had a bunch of performance car groups. And, I rode a bunch, man. And, I did some club racing back in the day in California, amateur stuff. But, I did the club racing because it just makes you a better rider on the street. Not that I went around racing on the street, but, and so I always practiced. So I was a decent rider, not a professional by any stretch of the imagination, but decent. I also did some canyon carving back in, back when I lived in California. But that was back during my misspent youth. All right, so they were having a car meet, performance driving meetup, and what they did was they raised money for cancer research for children. All right, so obviously very worthy cause. And so one of them reached out to me. I won't say his full name, but I'll say Ed. Let's say Ed reached out to me, and he had a really, really souped up, blacked out, matte black car that I won't go into the description. I think he still has that car, so I won't say what it was, but really, really fast car, highly modified. And he said, "Hey, are you up for an adventure?" Me? Yeah, of course I'm up for an adventure. And so he goes, "Look," he said, we've got a route that we're going to be driving. We're going to be driving fast, and Ferraris and Lambos and all the rest of these things, these really souped up BMWs, M5s, whatever. And he said, we need you to scout ahead and let us know by radio if you spot any cops. And if you do, just keep going and draw their fire, as it were. And I was like, you know what? I think I can do that. And so the route was kept really highly secret. I didn't know. I didn't have the route until that morning. and they didn't know I was doing the wild weasel thing until that morning. So I showed up. It was early in the morning, and it was kind of a cool morning, which is never good for motorcycle tires. And any of you ride sport bikes at the time, I was riding a black and yellow GSXR 1000. It was modified. I don't do the engine mods like a lot of guys do. I think the way to really go faster, safer, is by modifying the suspension. I learned that during some of my racing days. Suspension will add, will subtract a lot of time from your lap times and make you safer while you're riding in a, not speeding necessarily, but a high performance way. All right, so and so I've got it on a map on my tank, and I had a radar detector. But with radar detectors with motorcycles, you're moving so fast sometimes. By the time it's detected, you've already been painted. And so we set off, and so it was a route not too far from, well, it's in Central Florida, it's in Apopka. Those of you know, we ended up on Sugarloaf Road, but the rest of the route was someplace else. But yeah, the Sugarloaf Road was the end of the route, and so I shoot ahead. And, they gave me like a minute head start. We had radios and the Bluetooth. I had my radio set up with Bluetooth, and the radio itself was on was behind my windscreen. So all I had to do was actuate the button, and so then I could talk. I could talk to Ed. And so Ed was at the tail end of their group. And so I shoot off ahead and up and down these country roads and a lot of turns. And before I know it, I think I'm going fast. These guys are starting to gain on me. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I pull ahead even further. And at one point, we're under a bunch of trees. There's a bunch of tree cover, or at least I was under a bunch of tree cover. And so I see I catch a glimpse of a helicopter. And so I slow way down. I tell Ed, hey, slow it down, 50, 50, 50. And guys that have come up behind me that were ahead, everybody starts flashing their lights. I do like the palm down, which means stop or slow down. Usually means stop. And everybody slows down, and we get to this a stop sign. It was like a three-way stop. Well, it was a one-way stop. There was a road that went this way, so we pulled in perpendicular to this road. And standing there, over on the sides, on a couple of different sides, were sheriff's deputies with radar guns. They were on They had motorcycles nearby. There were like 4 of them. And so somebody dimed us out. However, because your boy Private Eye Russ was on top of his game, you can see these guys were looking at us like, And so, I pull up, complete stop, put both feet down, look one way, the other way, one way, the other way, look at the deputy, and peel off and go left. And so we all met up at a gas station, and he was like, and they were like, how did you see them? I said, dude, I caught a glimpse. And luckily I wasn't wearing my build helmet. I have a helmet that has like almost like a baseball cap bill on it. And, I wouldn't have seen him if I had that one on, but I was wearing I think it was a Shoei RF 800. I don't have that helmet anymore. It's done for. You can wear them for 2 years, then you got to get rid of them. All right. But that's what you're supposed to do. And so, we waited a while, and then we went and did the rest of the route, and we ended up on Sugarloaf Road. And so at the time, I hadn't really I had some modifications to the suspension and a few other things, but I didn't modify the brake lines. And so the rubber brake lines, after a while, after you're braking hard a bunch and you're riding really hard, the lines start to expand and you start to lose brake pressure. And so I go into this one turn, and I don't have any front brakes. and I'm going way too fast, man. So I was like, okay, I just got to light up the back tire. So I just lit up the back tire and slid, like drifted around the corner, and then just shot off. And then after that, I kind of took it easy. And so we all stopped. We all wound up at a bar, a restaurant. So they're all saying, "Man, dude, you were really good." And the one guy behind me was in a Ferrari, I think it was an F50, and he goes, "Dude, you lit up the tires going around that corner." Well, there was traffic coming the opposite direction. I didn't have any place to go, you know what I mean? So, and there was a guardrail here, guardrail there, drop off into a ditch with a little bit of water on either side, or oncoming traffic, or light it up and drift around the corners. I told them, I said, look, man, and we went outside and I showed them my brake lever, and they were like, holy smokes, it was literally going all the way back to the bar by that time. And so I wound up going home. After a while, the brake lines, kind of, cool down a little bit, or whatever happens to make them expand the way they do. And I had some decent brake pressure, but right after that, I changed the brake lines to steel braided brake lines. I sold that bike. That was the last bike I had, the most recent bike I had. I sold that one. Unfortunately, the guy who purchased it wound up going to one of these bike nights, which I don't understand. I don't understand the whole thing behind this. Hey, bikers, come out on your two-wheeled conveyances that require reflexes, judgment, and balance, and have 3-for-1 shots. It doesn't make any sense to me, and he wound up not making it. So be careful out there. Be safe. But also too, did I have fun doing that? Yeah, they actually invited me back a couple more times. That was the most eventful one, just because there was a bunch of other stuff that happened too, but it was a fun episode. I enjoyed doing it thoroughly, and thankfully nobody got hurt. Surprisingly, no tickets. I think those I always try to wonder or think back and try to reverse engineer things that happen. And I was like, man, who dimed us out? It wasn't me. Nobody else really had it except for two other people besides me, and mine was on my tank. And so, to this day, or maybe they just got lucky and just saw them all rallying up and figured out what was going on. So, anyway, this is your boy Private Eye Russ. Do me a favor before you guys go, please. It doesn't cost you anything. Click like, subscribe, share the videos with others. There will be more videos. Every now and then I get emergencies and I have to leave town, and that's what happened recently. And I had to leave town twice, for client emergencies. So social media doesn't pay me any money, and so I have to serve my clients. I run a business, which I tell you guys right at the very beginning, I advertise my business. So if you do need a private investigator, if you need background research on someone else, send me that email at russ@privateeruss.com, or send me a direct message on X, and I will be happy to help you guys out. I try to make my services affordable so more guys can access this type of information that could be life-changing, life-altering, and life-saving information. If you marry the wrong person and you don't understand this person's past, you could be in for a very, very difficult time. I recently had a case, and I want to talk to you guys real for a minute, and I'm not going to go into details about this particular case. This was a case where the man, I am certain he wishes he had done research on the woman he married before he married her and had children with her. She had a drug history, which that's bad enough. But the drug history and without going into details, okay, her drug history prompted her to put her children in harm's way with people who wanted to trade drugs or money to spend time with her children, if you understand what I'm saying. And now, okay, does that happen? Yeah, it does happen. Do men do that as well? Yes, men have done that as well too. So I'm not trying to isolate just women and saying women do this, but people need to background check their prospective partners. You don't know what this person has done in the past. Maybe they were honest with you. Maybe they were not honest with you. People who want to hide their past are going to lie, and people who have done, say, awful, mean felonies, whatever it might be, a drug past, maybe they've got hidden sex work. Many people, the vast majority of people would find that something that they want to hide, and they find that to be a shameful thing. And so you have to understand what this person might have done before you ever met them. That way, at least you have the opportunity to make an informed decision, which is all any of us should ever ask for. So, anyway, it's your boy, Private Eye Russ. I hope you did the like and subscribe thing. Did you? Really? All right. I will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.